Do you ever find yourself saying yes just to avoid feeling guilty? What if learning to say no could change your life? Saying yes when you really mean no is one of the biggest reasons people feel overwhelmed and unfulfilled. Imagine how much happier and more productive you could be if you only said yes to what truly matters. I used to be the person who said yes to everything, from helping out with extra work to attending events I didn't want to go to. I thought it made me kind and reliable, but all it did was make me exhausted and resentful. I was constantly overwhelmed, and deep down, I was frustrated because I wasn't living life on my own terms. I was living by other people's schedules and expectations. It wasn't until I learned the power of saying no that everything changed. At first, it was terrifying. I worried about disappointing people. I feared being labeled as selfish or unhelpful. But as I started saying no more often, something unexpected happened. I found more time for what truly mattered to me. I became less stressed and more focused. I even noticed that people started respecting my boundaries more. The truth is, people respect those who respect themselves. And one of the most powerful ways to respect yourself is by setting boundaries with a simple no. Learning to say no doesn't mean you're selfish. It means you're clear about your priorities. It means you value your time and energy. It means you understand that saying yes to everyone else often means saying no to yourself. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the art of saying no without feeling guilty or damaging relationships. You'll learn practical strategies and mindset shifts that will empower you to protect your time and energy. By the end of this video, you'll feel confident to say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what truly matters. If you've ever struggled with saying no, or if you found yourself overwhelmed because you're constantly doing things for others, this video is for you. It's time to reclaim your power and live life on your own terms. Ready to learn the art of saying no? Let's get started. Why it's hard to say no. Most of us were taught from a young age that saying yes makes us good, likable, and kind. We were told to help others, to be agreeable, and to avoid conflict. This conditioning is so deep that even as adults, we feel guilty or anxious at the thought of saying no. Why is it so hard to say no? The truth is, it's not just about the word itself. It's about the fear and pressure behind it. One of the biggest reasons is cultural and social conditioning. We live in a society that often values people-pleasing and compliance. From school to the workplace, we're rewarded for being cooperative and agreeable. The yes man is seen as the team player, the reliable friend, the supportive family member. But at what cost? Saying yes too often leads to burnout, resentment, and a loss of personal identity. You end up living someone else's life instead of your own. Then there's the fear of disappointment or conflict. No one likes to feel like the bad guy. We worry about hurting someone's feelings, damaging relationships, or being seen as selfish. The truth is, we often overestimate how negatively people will react. Most people are more understanding than we think. But that fear is powerful. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of saying yes, even when we desperately want to say no. Another reason is the desire for approval. Deep down, many of us equate saying yes with being loved or accepted. We fear rejection or disapproval if we don't meet others' expectations. We think saying yes makes us more likable, but in reality, it often leads to resentment and frustration. Think about it. How many times have you agreed to something you didn't want to do just to be polite? Or because you were afraid of conflict? Or because you didn't want to disappoint someone you cared about? Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values or priorities, you're saying no to yourself. You're sacrificing your own needs, dreams, and well-being. I used to be a chronic people pleaser. I would say yes to every request, every invitation, every favor. I thought it made me a good person, but all it did was make me exhausted and bitter. I was constantly overwhelmed and secretly resentful, but I was too afraid to say no. I feared losing relationships. I was scared of confrontation and rejection. But the reality was, I was losing myself. I was so busy pleasing everyone else that I forgot about my own needs. I had to learn the hard way that saying yes to everything doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you a more exhausted one. Saying no isn't about being selfish or rude. It's about being honest and authentic. It's about respecting your own boundaries and values. It's about protecting your time, energy, and mental health. If you keep saying yes to everything, you'll burn out. You'll end up feeling resentful, stressed, and unfulfilled. You might even start to feel trapped in a life you didn't choose. But when you learn to say no, you take back control. You start living intentionally, according to your own values and priorities. You gain respect, not just from others, but from yourself. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why it's so hard to say no. We'll explore the fears, pressures, and misconceptions that keep you stuck in the yes cycle. And most importantly, we'll show you how to break free, so you can start saying no without feeling guilty. Imagine how much more peaceful, productive, and fulfilling your life would be if you only said yes to what truly mattered to you. Are you ready to learn how? Let's continue. Why saying no is essential. Saying no isn't just about rejecting requests or declining invitations. It's about protecting your time, energy, and mental health. It's about creating space for the things that truly matter to you. In a world that constantly demands more from us, learning to say no is an act of self-care and self-respect. It's not about being rude or selfish, it's about being intentional with your choices. One of the most important reasons to say no is to protect your time and energy. Time is the one resource you can never get back. Once it's gone forever. Every time you say yes to something you don't want or need to do, you're spending time and energy that could have been used for something more meaningful. Think about it. How often have you agreed to help someone with a task, attend an event, or take on extra work, only to feel exhausted and resentful later? You end up drained and overwhelmed, wondering where all your time went. Saying no allows you to set boundaries and protect your energy. It gives you the freedom to focus on what truly matters to you. Whether that's spending time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply resting and recharging, you deserve to prioritize your own needs. Another reason to say no is to prioritize your goals. Every yes is a commitment. And every commitment takes time, focus, and energy away from your own dreams and ambitions. When you say yes to things that don't align with your goals, you're delaying your progress. Imagine you have a personal goal, like learning a new skill, starting a side business, or improving your health. But every week, you're saying yes to social events, favors, or extra work that you don't really want to do. Before you know it, weeks, months, or even years go by, and you're no closer to your dreams. Saying no isn't about shutting people out. It's about being selective with your commitments so that you can stay focused on what truly matters. Your dreams and goals deserve your time and attention. And sometimes, that means saying no to distractions and obligations that don't serve your purpose. Saying no also helps you gain respect from others. People respect those who respect themselves. When you set clear boundaries and communicate them confidently, others are more likely to value your time and decisions. Think about the people you respect the most. Chances are, they're not people who say yes to everything. They're individuals who know their worth, prioritize their values, and aren't afraid to set boundaries. When you say yes to everything, people may take you for granted. They might see you as someone who is always available, which can lead to being overburdened and undervalued. But when you learn to say no, you teach others to appreciate and respect your time. Interestingly, there's scientific research that supports the power of saying no. Studies show that people who set boundaries and protect their time are generally happier, less stressed, and more productive. They experience less burnout and have better mental health because they're not constantly overcommitting themselves. According to a study published in the Journal of Consumer Research, people who use the phrase "I don't" instead of "I can't" are more successful in maintaining their boundaries. For example, saying "I don't work on weekends" is more empowering than saying "I can't work on weekends." The first shows a firm boundary, while the second implies that you might be convinced otherwise. This subtle change in language makes it easier to say no confidently and without guilt. It reinforces your commitment to your values and priorities. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that does. You're saying no to your own growth, happiness, and well-being. But when you learn to say no, you're giving yourself permission to live more authentically. You're allowing yourself to focus on what brings you joy, fulfillment, and purpose. You're creating space for the people, experiences, and opportunities that truly matter. Imagine how much more peaceful and meaningful your life would be if you only said yes to what truly mattered to you. Imagine feeling more in control of your time and energy, without the guilt or resentment. Saying no isn't always easy, but it's worth it. It's a skill that can transform your life and help you live more intentionally. In this video, we're going to dive deeper into why saying no is essential. We'll explore the powerful benefits it brings to your mental health, productivity, and relationships. We'll also share practical tips and techniques to help you say no confidently and without guilt. Are you ready to take back control of your life? Let's continue. The mindset shift. Saying no is hard, but it becomes a lot easier when you change the way you think about it. The truth is, most of us see saying no as something negative. We think it makes us selfish, rude, or uncaring. But in reality, saying no is an act of self-respect and authenticity. The first mindset shift is understanding that no is not negative. It's not about rejecting people, it's about choosing what's best for you. It's about being honest about your limitations, priorities, and values. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you a responsible one. When you say no, you're not just refusing a request. You're protecting your time, energy, and well-being. You're choosing to spend your life in ways that align with your values and goals. And that's not selfish, that's self-respect. Think of it this way. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to something that could energize you. You're saying no to your passions, your goals, and your peace of mind. The second mindset shift is realizing that you're not responsible for others' feelings. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to say no is the fear of disappointing others. We worry about hurting feelings, causing conflicts, or being judged. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. You are only responsible for being kind, honest, and respectful in your delivery. How they choose to feel or respond is their choice, not yours. Most of the time, people respect you more when you're honest and assertive. They may be disappointed, but they will understand and appreciate your honesty. And if they don't, that says more about them than about you. I used to be terrified of saying no because I hated conflict. I would bend over backward to make others happy, even if it meant sacrificing my own needs. But all it did was make me resentful and exhausted. I was saying yes out of fear, not out of love or generosity. Then I realized that I wasn't being authentic. I was being a people pleaser, and it was damaging my relationships and my self-worth. I had to learn that saying no doesn't mean I don't care. It just means I care about myself too. The third mindset shift is embracing self-worth and self-respect. Your value is not determined by how much you do for others. You are worthy and deserving of respect, even when you set boundaries. Many people say yes because they believe their worth is tied to their productivity or usefulness. They think they have to prove their value by always being available or helpful. But your worth isn't defined by how much you give or how agreeable you are. You are valuable simply because you exist. Your needs, dreams, and boundaries are just as important as anyone else's. When you say no, you are standing up for your own worth. You are saying, my time, energy, and well-being matter. You are choosing to live with integrity and self-respect. I remember the first time I said no to something that didn't serve me. It was terrifying. My heart was racing, and I felt guilty for days. But I also felt a new sense of freedom and empowerment. I realized that I didn't have to please everyone to be valuable or loved. Since then, saying no has become one of the most powerful tools in my life. It has allowed me to protect my time, pursue my passions, and live authentically. It has made my relationships stronger and more honest. The final mindset shift is understanding that no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone an explanation or justification for your boundaries. You have the right to say no simply because it doesn't align with your needs or values. Most people over-explain because they feel guilty or insecure. They think they have to justify their decisions to be understood or accepted. But the more you explain, the more opportunities you give others to argue or negotiate. Instead, be clear and firm. You can be polite and respectful without over-explaining. For example, instead of saying, I can't help because I'm really busy with work and other commitments, you can simply say, I won't be able to help, but I hope it goes well. Learning to say no without explaining yourself is liberating. It reinforces your confidence and self-respect. It shows that you are secure in your decisions and boundaries. Shifting your mindset isn't easy, but it's worth it. When you change the way you think about saying no, it becomes less scary and more empowering. You start to see it as an act of self-love and authenticity, rather than a rejection or conflict. In this video, we're going to explore these mindset shifts in more detail. We'll share real-life examples and practical exercises to help you reframe the way you see saying no. By the end of this section, you'll feel more confident and empowered to set boundaries without guilt. Are you ready to change your mindset and take control of your life? Let's continue. Practical techniques to say no. Learning to say no is one thing, but actually doing it is another. It can be uncomfortable, even scary, especially if you're not used to setting boundaries. But with the right techniques, you can say no confidently and kindly, without feeling guilty. Here are some practical strategies to help you say no effectively. 1. The yes, but technique. This is perfect for situations where you want to help but need to set limits. Instead of a flat-out no, you agree with conditions. For example, yes, I can help you, but only for 30 minutes. Yes, I can attend the event, but I'll have to leave early. This technique allows you to contribute without overcommitting. It shows that you're willing to help but within your own boundaries. I used to feel guilty saying no to every request for help. But when I started using this technique, I found a balance. I could be supportive without sacrificing my own needs. It's a great way to say yes on your own terms. 2. Offer alternatives. If you genuinely want to help but can't do it yourself, suggest an alternative. For example, I'm not able to do this, but maybe you could ask, name, they might be able to help. I can't make it to the meeting, but I can review the notes and give feedback afterward. This shows that you care and are willing to help in other ways. It also helps the other person find a solution without depending entirely on you. By offering alternatives, you maintain a positive relationship without overcommitting. 3. The I don't strategy. This technique is powerful because it's firm and non-negotiable. Instead of saying I can't, say I don't. For example, I don't work on weekends. I don't lend money to friends and family. Saying I don't sounds more like a personal policy or principle. It doesn't leave room for negotiation or persuasion. It also makes you sound more confident and decisive. I used to struggle with work-life balance because I always said, I can't. People would keep pushing, and I'd eventually give in. But when I started saying, I don't work on weekends, the request stopped. People respected my boundary because it sounded firm and final. It's a powerful way to assert your boundaries without feeling guilty. 4. Delay tactics. If you feel pressured or uncertain, buy yourself some time. For example, let me check my schedule and get back to you. I need to think about it, can I let you know tomorrow? This helps you avoid impulsive yes that you'll regret later. It also gives you time to consider your priorities and make a thoughtful decision. When I first started setting boundaries, I felt pressured to give an immediate answer. I would panic and say yes just to avoid awkwardness. But by using delay tactics, I gave myself the space to make decisions that aligned with my values. You don't have to decide on the spot. Take your time and make the best choice for yourself. 5. Gratitude and politeness. Saying no doesn't have to be cold or harsh. You can be firm and respectful at the same time. For example, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I won't be able to participate. I really appreciate the invitation, but I'll have to pass this time. Expressing gratitude softens the no and shows respect for the other person's feelings. It also keeps the conversation positive and maintains a good relationship. I used to worry about sounding rude when I said no. But when I started using gratitude and politeness, people were more understanding. They appreciated my honesty and respected my boundaries. It's a simple yet effective way to say no kindly and confidently. 6. Assertive body language and tone. How you say no matters just as much as the words you use. Your body language and tone should match your words to convey confidence and certainty. Keep your voice calm and steady. Maintain eye contact to show that you're serious. Stand or sit up straight to project confidence. If you say no while looking down or speaking softly, it undermines your message. People may sense hesitation and try to change your mind. But if you say it with confidence and assertiveness, people are more likely to respect your decision. Practice saying no in front of a mirror or with a trusted friend. Focus on your tone, posture, and eye contact. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. 7. Practicing in low-stakes situations. If you're not used to saying no, start small. Practice in low-pressure situations where the consequences are minimal. For example, say no to a telemarketer or salesperson. Decline an invitation to a casual event you don't want to attend. Practicing in low-stakes situations builds your confidence and assertiveness. It also helps you get comfortable with the discomfort of saying no. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Soon, you'll be able to say no in more challenging situations with confidence. Examples and scripts. Here are some practical scripts you can use in different scenarios. Examples and scripts. Here are some practical scripts you can use in different scenarios to say no with confidence and grace. When it comes to work requests, it's important to maintain professionalism while setting clear boundaries. For example, you can say, "I'm focusing on other priorities right now, so I won't be able to take this on." This shows that you're committed to your current responsibilities without over-explaining. Another effective response is, "I'd love to help, but my schedule is full." Maybe, name, could assist you? By suggesting an alternative, you're still being supportive without overcommitting yourself. For social invitations, it's all about being polite yet firm. If you're not interested or simply need some alone time, you can say, "Thank you for the invite, but I'm going to take some time for myself this weekend." This communicates your need for rest without sounding rude. Alternatively, you can use a more straightforward approach. "I appreciate the offer, but I won't be able to make it this time." This keeps the conversation respectful while maintaining your boundary. When dealing with family or friends' favors, it's essential to be honest while remaining considerate. You might say, "I'm not comfortable with that, but I hope you understand." This is effective because it expresses your feelings without attacking or blaming the other person. If you're busy or have other priorities, you can also say, "I'd love to help, but I have other commitments right now." This shows that you care but can't sacrifice your own needs or responsibilities. For persistent requests, the key is to be assertive and consistent. One powerful approach is to acknowledge their perspective but stand firm in your decision. "I understand that this is important to you, but my answer is no." This shows empathy while maintaining your boundary. If the person continues to push, you can close the conversation with, "I've made my decision, and it's not up for discussion." This reinforces your stance and signals that further persuasion won't work. The key to all of these scripts is to be clear, firm, and respectful. You don't have to justify or explain yourself. A simple, confident no is enough. By practicing these techniques, you'll feel more empowered to protect your time, energy, and well-being without guilt or conflict. Dealing with guilt and pushback. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to say no is because of guilt. We worry about letting others down, hurting their feelings, or being seen as selfish. But the truth is, feeling guilty doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means you're doing something different, something that prioritizes your own well-being. Guilt is often a sign that you're breaking free from old patterns of people-pleasing. It's your mind's way of reacting to a change in behavior. But just because you feel guilty doesn't mean you should give in. In fact, learning to sit with that discomfort is a powerful way to build emotional resilience. The first step to handling guilt is to normalize the feeling. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel guilty. It's just an emotional reaction to setting boundaries, a sign that you care about others. But caring about others doesn't mean sacrificing your own needs and values. Tell yourself, it's okay to disappoint people sometimes. You can't make everyone happy, and that's perfectly fine. Your job is to make choices that are true to yourself, not to meet everyone else's expectations. I used to feel intense guilt every time I said no. I worried that people would think I was rude or uncaring. But over time, I realized that my worth isn't determined by how much I do for others. I learned to separate my actions from my identity. Saying no didn't make me a bad person, it made me an honest one. Another powerful way to manage guilt is to reframe your thoughts. Instead of thinking, "I'm letting them down," think, "I'm being honest and respectful of my own limits." Instead of, "They'll be upset with me," remind yourself, "Their feelings are their responsibility, not mine." This mindset shift helps you see saying no as an act of self-care and authenticity, rather than selfishness. It also helps you detach from the fear of disappointing others. You're not responsible for how people react to your boundaries, you're only responsible for setting them kindly and clearly. But what about pushback? Sometimes, no matter how kind or respectful you are, people will push back. They might try to guilt trip you, argue, or manipulate you into changing your mind. This is especially true if they're used to you always saying yes. The first rule of dealing with pushback is to stay firm and consistent. Once you've made your decision, stick to it. Don't get dragged into debates or explanations. The more you explain, the more opportunities you give them to argue. One of the most effective techniques for this is the broken record technique. This means repeating your decision calmly and consistently, without getting emotional. For example, "I understand, but I won't be able to help." "I hear you, but my answer is no." "I've made my decision, and it's not up for discussion." No matter what they say, you stay firm and repeat your boundary. This shows them that you're serious and not open to negotiation. Eventually, they'll realize that pushing back won't change your mind. When using this technique, keep your tone calm and assertive. Don't sound apologetic or unsure. If you waver, they'll see an opportunity to convince you. But if you remain calm and consistent, they'll respect your decision. Another effective strategy is to acknowledge their feelings without changing your stance. This is useful when someone is visibly upset or disappointed. You can say something like, "I understand that this is important to you, and I'm sorry if my decision is disappointing. I see where you're coming from, but I have to prioritize my own needs right now." Acknowledging their feelings shows empathy without compromising your boundary. It lets them know that you understand their perspective, but you're still firm in your decision. This approach helps maintain respect and understanding, even if they don't like your answer. It's also important to prepare for emotional manipulation. Some people use guilt-tripping or emotional blackmail to get their way. They might say things like, "I thought you cared about me. You're being so selfish. I would do it for you if you asked." When faced with manipulation, don't get defensive or argue. Instead, calmly restate your boundary. You can say, "I understand how you feel, but my decision is final. I'm sorry you're upset, but I need to do what's right for me." By staying calm and confident, you refuse to engage in emotional manipulation. You make it clear that guilt-tripping won't change your mind. The more consistent you are, the more people will learn to respect your boundaries. Finally, practice self-compassion and self-care. Setting boundaries can be emotionally draining, especially if you're not used to it. After saying no or dealing with pushback, take time to recharge. Do something that makes you feel good. Go for a walk, meditate, journal, or spend time with supportive people. Remind yourself that it's okay to prioritize your own needs and well-being. Whenever you feel guilty or anxious, remember why you set the boundary in the first place. You did it to protect your time, energy, and mental health. You did it to live authentically and intentionally. And that is nothing to feel guilty about. In this video, we've explored powerful strategies to deal with guilt and pushback. By normalizing guilt, reframing your thoughts, and staying firm with the broken record technique, you can set boundaries confidently. By acknowledging others' feelings without compromising your stance, you maintain respect and understanding. And by practicing self-compassion, you take care of your emotional well-being. Imagine how much more peaceful and empowered you'll feel when you can say no without guilt or fear of conflict. You'll have more time and energy for the things that truly matter to you. You'll gain respect, not just from others, but from yourself. Are you ready to master the art of saying no and reclaim your power? Let's continue. Benefits of saying no. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. It's not just about setting boundaries, it's about transforming your life. When you learn to say no confidently and without guilt, you unlock a world of benefits that impact every area of your life. One of the most significant benefits is more time for self-care and personal growth. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to yourself. You're creating space for rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation. You're giving yourself permission to prioritize your own needs, dreams, and passions. Imagine how much more peaceful and fulfilled you'd feel if you only committed to things that truly mattered to you. You'd have more time to pursue your hobbies, learn new skills, or simply relax without feeling guilty. You'd be able to recharge your energy, improve your mental health, and live a more balanced life. When I first started saying no, I was amazed at how much more time and energy I had. I was no longer overwhelmed or exhausted. I felt more focused, motivated, and in control of my own life. Saying no allows you to design your life on your own terms. It empowers you to live intentionally rather than reactively. Another powerful benefit is improved relationships. It might sound counterintuitive, but setting boundaries actually strengthens your connections with others. When you're honest about your limits, people know where they stand with you. They learn to respect your time and decisions, which builds trust and authenticity. Think about it, wouldn't you rather someone be honest with you than agree to something they don't want to do? When you say yes out of guilt or obligation, you're not being genuine. You might end up feeling resentful or frustrated, which can damage the relationship. But when you say no with kindness and respect, you're being authentic and honest. You're showing others that you value yourself and your time. This encourages them to value you more as well. Setting boundaries also helps you avoid burnout and resentment. You won't feel taken advantage of or overwhelmed because you're only committing to things you genuinely want to do. This leads to healthier, more balanced relationships built on mutual respect. I used to be a people pleaser, constantly saying yes to avoid conflict or disappointment. But deep down, I was often resentful and exhausted. I realized that I wasn't being fair to myself or to others. I wasn't giving them the best version of me because I was too drained. When I started saying no, my relationships improved dramatically. I was more present, more engaged, and more authentic. I was no longer pretending to be okay when I was overwhelmed. I was showing up as my true self, and people appreciated that honesty. Saying no doesn't push people away, it brings them closer by creating healthier, more authentic connections. Increased productivity and focus are also powerful benefits of saying no. Every yes is a commitment of your time, energy, and attention. When you say yes to things that don't align with your goals, you're distracting yourself from what truly matters. But when you say no, you protect your priorities. You free up your mental space and energy to focus on your own ambitions and dreams. You become more productive because you're not constantly pulled in different directions. Research shows that successful people are masters at saying no. They understand that their time and energy are limited resources. By saying no to distractions and obligations, they can fully focus on their highest impact activities. Think about the most successful people you know. Do they say yes to every request or invitation? Or are they selective, strategic, and intentional with their commitments? Saying no allows you to be more focused and effective. It helps you prioritize your goals and take purposeful action. It enables you to make real progress on the things that matter most to you. When I started saying no to low-priority tasks and obligations, my productivity skyrocketed. I was able to concentrate on my personal and professional goals without constant interruptions. I felt more accomplished and motivated because I was making meaningful progress. By saying no to distractions, you're saying yes to your dreams and ambitions. You're giving yourself the gift of focus and productivity. Perhaps the most powerful benefit of all is enhanced self-esteem and confidence. When you say no, you're standing up for your own worth and values. You're choosing to prioritize your needs, dreams, and well-being. You're affirming that your time and energy are valuable. This act of self-respect boosts your confidence and self-worth. You start to see yourself as someone who deserves respect and consideration. You feel more empowered because you're no longer at the mercy of other people's demands. Saying no helps you break free from the cycle of people-pleasing. You learn that your value isn't determined by how much you do for others. You realize that you don't have to overextend yourself to be worthy of love and respect. The first time I said no to something that didn't serve me, I was terrified. I felt guilty and worried about disappointing others. But afterward, I felt a new sense of freedom and empowerment. I realized that I didn't need to justify or apologize for setting boundaries. I was allowed to protect my time and well-being. The more I practiced saying no, the more confident and secure I became. I was no longer afraid of conflict or rejection because I was true to myself. I respected my own values, and that made me feel more valuable. When you say no, you're affirming your own worth. You're choosing to live authentically and intentionally. You're building a life that aligns with your values, dreams, and well-being. In this video, we've explored the powerful benefits of saying no. From more time for self-care and personal growth to improved relationships, increased productivity, and enhanced self-esteem, saying no can transform your life. It empowers you to protect your time, energy, and well-being without guilt or fear. Imagine a life where you only say yes to what truly matters. Where you feel confident, authentic, and in control of your own choices. Where your relationships are built on respect and authenticity. Where you have the time and energy to pursue your passions and dreams. That life is possible when you master the art of saying no. It's not about rejection or conflict, it's about living with intention and integrity. If you're ready to reclaim your power and live life on your own terms, start practicing saying no today. The benefits are worth it, and you deserve them. Are you ready to transform your life with the power of no? Let's continue. Conclusion. Congratulations on making it this far. You've just learned the art of saying no without feeling guilty. You've discovered powerful mindset shifts, practical techniques, and the life-changing benefits of setting boundaries. But knowledge alone isn't enough. The real power comes from taking action. So, I have a challenge for you. Which one of these techniques will you start practicing today? Is it the yes, but technique? Or maybe the I don't strategy? Will you try the broken record method the next time someone pushes back? Take a moment to reflect and choose one technique to practice this week. Start small, maybe with a low-stakes situation or a simple request. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. I'd love to hear about your experiences and challenges. Drop a comment below and share which technique you're planning to try. Let's start a conversation and support each other in mastering the art of saying no. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Your support helps this content reach more people who need it. And if you want more content on personal growth, mindset shifts, and living intentionally, hit that subscribe button. Join our community of like-minded individuals who are committed to living authentically and confidently. Let's grow together and create lives that truly reflect our values and priorities. Remember, every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to yourself. You're choosing your own well-being, dreams, and happiness. And that is one of the most powerful choices you can make. Thank you for watching and for investing in yourself today. I'm proud of you for taking this step toward living more intentionally. Until next time, remember, you have the power to protect your time, energy, and well-being. You have the right to set boundaries without guilt. You have the courage to say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what truly matters. Go out there and start living life on your own terms. You deserve it. Which technique will you start practicing today? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.